Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights is probably the Scooby-Doo game you remember most and have the most fondness for. The game came out right at the height of the Scooby-Doo renaissance back in the late 90s, early-ish 2000s. It was made by developer Heavy Iron Studios, the same developer that made that PS1 Evil Dead game, Hail to the King. Night of 100 Frights starts out with the gang driving down a spooky road, and this game has some dynamic camera angles, let me tell ya. Like, you don't have the plain side view shot of the mystery machine driving down a foggy, creepy road. The camera actually zooms in through the passenger window. The main menu is an inside glimpse of the mystery machine, and I like it a lot. There's also a great recreation of the Scooby-Doo TV show intro. However, I can't play the music because of the YouTube copyright bots. But whatever, let's get to the story proper.
All right, you two, don't forget the real reason we're here.
A lobster bisque?
No, silly. We're here to solve a mystery.
Yeah, are we here to solve the mystery of why Daphne and Velma aren't making out? Is that the mystery we're trying to solve here? Because that's the mystery I want to solve.
My friend Holly says there's strange goings-on up here at her family home, Mystic Manor.
The gang gets to the location of the game, and we immediately meet Daphne's friend Holly, and forget about making out with Velma, let's see Daphne and Holly make out. What? I know they're cartoon characters, but what do you want from me? I live in space, alone in a science lab, where I talk to puppets. Cut me some slack here. Firstly, I'd like to say that this game looks really good. It's very well animated, and the voice cast does a great job. The game even brings in Don Knotts and Tim Conway.
You're wondering where the key is to the gate, huh? Well, so am I. I'm pretty sure it's buried around here somewhere, but you'll need a shovel. Here, take this and get to work.
There's also one more voice actor, but I'll get to him later. So the story is that Holly's inventor uncle has gone missing, and it's up to the gang to find them. Scooby and Shaggy stay outside as they want nothing to do with the mystery, because, as it turns out, her uncle's mansion is haunted. So the rest of the gang goes into the haunted mansion without them. And unfortunately, due to some well-placed Scooby snacks, Shaggy is caught in a trap and vanishes.
I'm all alone. Oh.
There's not a lot of story in this game. There are some cutscenes here and there, but this is really just a straight-up platformer with some really large, interconnected areas to explore and play through. I hesitate to call this a Metroidvania, but that's the word that comes to mind when I think about this game. You work your way through the interconnected areas, collecting items, solving puzzles, and getting power-ups that allow you to access areas you couldn't reach in previous areas, thus opening up more of the game. That pretty much explains the game right there. There are several spooky areas in the game to explore, and they are very, very much spooky in line with the show. None of that sentence made sense, and I am sorry. There are several spooky areas in the game to explore, and they are very spooky, and they are spooky in line with the Scooby-Doo Where Are You show. None of these areas are in any way meant to be realistic, however, but they are designed to at least vaguely resemble real-world locations. For instance, the kitchen is huge and has too many stoves for any kitchen in real life. These levels are designed for the sole purpose of atmosphere and providing platforming opportunities. With that being said, the locations that you play through are plentiful and they have sub-locations within them. Like I said, there's the manor itself, where you rescue Holly from behind a locked door. Your reward is that she gives you a map to use.
Here, take this map. It'll help you get around a little easier.
I have no idea what kind of sick weirdo would give a dog a map, but it happens in this game. She also tells you that the mastermind appeared and stated that he's responsible for her uncle's disappearance. Other locations include the Mystic Playground, which is a playground where you can learn and practice all the gameplay elements you'll find in the game, like swinging on stuff or sliding on ice. There's the area Smuggler's Cove that has a lighthouse on it, a fish plant, as in factory, a wrecked ship, some underground caves, a fishing port, and much more. Each level really is huge. You also have a hedge maze to explore, some underground caverns, a secret lab. You can jump around along the rooftops, play in the mansion attic. It really is a huge game, and all these locations are interconnected with many secrets hidden within them. I like most of the level design here, although most of the levels don't realistically portray real places like some Scooby-Doo games try to accomplish. This game does craft some good 3D platforming levels that do affect a good spooky atmosphere. Not a horror, scary atmosphere, but like a fun Halloween type atmosphere. It's fun to go through the levels and play. For gameplay, this is a platformer and the platforming is pretty good. The game throws enough uniqueness at you to keep you interested and challenged. Scooby jumps and double jumps. He swings from chandeliers, he can sprint if needed, and he can collect power-ups to allow him to access new areas of the game. He gets a butt stomp, a helmet that allows him to ram things, an umbrella that allows him to float and use vents to float upward to new areas. He gets boots that allow him to walk on goo that prevents him from jumping, a bubble attack that allows him to use enemies as platforms, and several other items that grant him access to new parts of the games and abilities to use to get through those areas within the game. Each one of these items is an invention of the professors, and is usually acquired after a boss fight. There is combat in the game, but it mostly comes down to jumping on enemies or using your ram attack to take them out. All the enemies in the game are monsters from the TV show. They come in several tiers. Some are really easy and just take you jumping on them or ramming them once. Some fly, some shoot at you, some need to be rammed and then stomped on when they're stunned. The gameplay is pretty good. Simple but good. Night of 100 Frights is a slightly above average platformer, I have to say. Sometimes the platforming challenges do go a little overboard though. The fish factory is certainly a section of the game I like the least. Actually, I don't like it at all. It sucks ass. The part of the game where you have to jump over the half-sunken boats isn't very good either. You constantly slide back down them towards the water, and you are always working to get to the top. The lab at the end of the game, I have a lot of trouble with. The electrified floor constantly kills me. But overall, the game is enjoyable in the gameplay department. This game, unlike many of the Scooby-Doo games after it, has the most reverie for the source material. It feels like an homage to the TV show. All the enemies and bosses are straight from the show. You got the zombie, the werewolf, the tiki guy, ghosts, scarecrows, and that one robot guy, the dead Martian, the caveman, and many other characters from the show. You can also collect these little tokens that allow you to gain access to their character models and some small snippets of info on the characters and the episode they appeared in. You also get a little piece of trivia with each one too. This game just sort of feels like a love letter to Scooby-Doo. It's fun. The bosses are also characters from the show. Such bosses include the Knight, the Red-Beard Pirate, the Green Ghost, and a unique original song that sounds like it's straight from the show accompanies each one of these boss fights. It's like I'm playing the TV show in a way. The boss fights are really well designed. I didn't ever have any trouble figuring out what to do, and they were reasonably challenging. Each boss fight also has you saving a member of the gang. You save Velma from the Knight, Fred from Redbeard, and Daphne from the Green Ghost. Saving Daphne actually leads to one of the best lines in any Scooby-Doo piece of media ever, anywhere, at all. Let's listen.
Keep it up, Scooby. I'm almost there. Got it. Jeepers, my skin was beginning to chafe.
Now let's listen to that line without the video.
Keep it up, Scooby. I'm almost there. Got it. Jeepers, my skin was beginning to chafe.
The final boss fight is with the main villain of the game, the Mastermind, who is actually voiced by Tim Curry. Tim fucking Curry.
How did you, a worthless cur, make it this far?
I don't know.
And it's pretty cool. And you know what? You fight the Mastermind in a lab, which reminds me of something.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
I like Night of 100 Frights. It has some solid gameplay, some good design, a spooky atmosphere, a good music soundtrack, and some severe reverie for Scooby-Doo. I'd say that if you're a Scooby-Doo fan, this is the game that will float your boat the most. It just clearly loves Scooby-Doo. I like this game. It was a good game for its time, and it doesn't fare too poorly now either. There were very few things I disliked about this game. One thing I did hate was that you had to collect Scooby snacks to unlock certain sections of the game. It's easy to do at first, but by the time you get toward the end of the game, you are just scouring every area for every Scooby snack you can get. Like the 800 needed to open the last door so you can complete the game is a pain in the butt. It brings the game to a screeching halt. Like you have to stop everything you're doing and just collect Scooby snacks. Everything else, however, is fairly good. In the end, the crook, The mastermind was actually Holly. She was the one who kidnapped her uncle. She invited Scoob and the gang to come to the mansion and help her solve the mystery in an attempt to throw suspicion off herself. She was going to steal her uncle's new invention and get rich and famous from it. And what was his invention? It was a machine that could create holographic projections. That's how Holly was able to make all the old monsters from the gang's past cases come back to haunt them. And I bet you thought it was the spooky groundskeeper.
Blame the spooky groundskeeper. It's always the spooky groundskeeper.